Hello and welcome back to Citizen Speak. I'm your host, Garrett Martin. Thank you for listening. Senator Ted Cruz, he tried to have a bill passed for blocking refugees, specifically refugees that come from a country controlled by terrorism. These countries would specifically be Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen. Convenient that he's so worried about our safety that he introduces this bill now, but never had an idea of introducing it before. Clearly, it's just to push his agenda. But there were two senators, Dick Durbin and Senator Patrick Leahy, that said no, that's not going to happen. And Cruz then he ripped on the senators, and he said that they were just pushing President Obama's agenda. And this is what Cruz had said. He said this legislation would stop President Obama and Hillary Clinton's plan to bring in tens of thousands of Syrian Muslim refugees to the United States. The Democratic senators in this body have chosen to stand with President Obama and his absurd political correctness, this unwillingness even to utter the words radical Islam terrorism. Tell me, Ted Cruz, will you say radical Christian terrorism? Can you admit that that's a thing? Can you admit that there's Christians out there who are radical and wish to do harm and commit terror, even here in the United States? Oh, no? No. You probably couldn't, because it's only the Muslims that you're afraid of. All Christians are good Christians, and there's no bad Christians, right? That's exactly what he's getting at. And what happened with this bill is it got blocked. The Democrats blocked it, thankfully. It would have been destroyed by President Obama anyway. But no, it was nice that the Democrats had blocked it. Leahy, however, he went on to say that the comments that were in the hearing were un-American. It kind of seems like that's a word or a phrase that keeps going around Ted Cruz's ears, that he's un-American. Well, imagine that. At the land of the free, there's someone who is a son of refugees, wishes to put in legislation to block refugees from coming into our country. Seems kind of un-American to me. Leahy also goes on to say, I'm worried in this country that we hear rhetoric that's dangerous, and it's time to stop. It shames the very nature of what America is. We hear ideas that they're wrong. I would say that they're deeply un-American. And it's true, they are deeply un-American. You can't completely go away from our ideals as Americans. We're the land of the free. Even on our Statue of Liberty, we have the plaque that says, "Give me your tempest tossed." Give us the people who are poor and sick and hungry, where they have nowhere else to go. This is the place for them. And that's what America's about. We're the place for people who have no other place to go. People whose country is in dire turmoil. Cruz, like a big old baby, he just can't let it go. So he goes on to say, spoke against overheated rhetoric, and in the very next breath accused me of being anti-American. Let me say, speaking the truth is not terrorism. No. Speaking out your ass is ignorance. You are not speaking any truth. Like I've said in the past couple of days, the fear, I completely understand it. I get it. but you have to check it. Just because you have it doesn't mean that you're going to make rational decisions. If you were to take a poll of American citizens, Ted Cruz, you'll find that the American citizens don't want to block these Syrian refugees from coming in. They want them vetted. By all means, we want people vetted. It doesn't matter what country that they're coming from. We want to make sure that those who are already living here are safe. No one's saying that we don't want that. And if they are, then they're just a horseshoe. And we don't talk about them. But old Ted Cruz here, yeah, you're being un-American. And at this point in time, you had people say that you weren't American to your face. Just like you wanted President Obama to do. And well, look what happened. You lost. Now, Dick Durbin, he goes on to say during this whole mashup that in the time of war, in time of attack, sometimes rash decisions are made. I predict in the course of history, as people in the future reflect on what happened in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives this week, they hope that saner voices will prevail. And that's exactly it. How do you want your kids to look back on America? How do you want your grandkids to look back on America? Do you want them to look back on the past 100 years as being a couple of old white men being insecure about what's going on in the world and keeping their own self-interest secure? Or do you want it to be a time where America stood up and said, not here, not ignorance? There shall be nothing of that sort here in America. What do you want your grandkids to see your legacy was? Ted Cruz apparently wants his family to see somebody who's going to be on the wrong side of history. Now, we've had well over 200,000 refugees from the Middle East since 9/11. Not one of them has been on the terror watch list. And I get it. You know, you're going to say the Tsarnaev brothers, the Boston bombers. Well, they weren't refugees, and their parents weren't refugees. Their parents were actually asylum seekers. So, completely different situation. We're talking about refugees, not people seeking asylum. So, we have Senator Ted Cruz, who is just off his rocker. And it's just a wonderful thing to watch. Someone who tries so hard, collapse so hard. But here's the other troubling thing, is he's elected. The people of Texas have elected him to be a senator. Now, hopefully, his constituents will look at his actions and his words that he said towards these Syrian people, these people who have been tossed out of their homes or fled in the middle of the night because bombs were coming or a machete was coming with their name on it. I hope that his constituents will look at Ted Cruz and say, you are not fit to represent us. Your views are not our views. And it's time for a new voice. And it can be another Republican. By all means, I'm not saying that a Republican shouldn't fill his shoes again. Just someone who's a little bit more sane should fill Ted Cruz's seat. Make sure that you find me on Twitter. My Twitter name is SitSpeak, that's CITZ Speak. Thank you for liking and commenting on this podcast. Have a great night.